Hey, are you working with a marketing agency to grow your healthcare practice? If so, this video is for you. What if I told you that the agency model is actually designed to keep you stuck, confused, paying retainer fees, and not having full control of the growth of your practice? I see this time and time again in our business. We see healthcare practitioners that have not only delegated, but actually abdicated the responsibility, the lifeblood of their business, new patients, to an outsourced agency. Now, you may think this is a good idea, but I'm actually here to tell you why it's a bad idea and the four major risks that you're taking when you do outsource this skill or this ability to drive in new patients into your practice, why that's going to keep you stuck, and what we're actually doing about it. Now, who am I? Who am I to even talk about this? Well, my name is John Cameron Johnson. I'm the founder of Etho, and we are actually making the transition from an agency, which is why I can speak so deeply on this topic, to a SaaS company or a software company that uses agentic AI to remove all of these holes, all of these bottlenecks, and to take a practitioner like yourself who may maybe not know a lot about advertising or growth, how do you build campaigns and how do you do the research and how do you set up all the technology, and make it simple and effortless for you so you can focus on medicine instead of marketing. And now, why? Well, because over the $40 million of results we produced in the last 3-4 years, I've noticed these patterns that have continued to emerge with each practitioner. And what I've wanted to do as an agency is remove us as the bottleneck, remove the practitioner as a bottleneck so we can use technology to allow the practitioner to have control, to know exactly what to do in plain English. So in this video, I'm gonna break down the four major risks. So we're gonna jump over to my iPad. Here they are. First is time. I'm going to explain why I mean by time, basically how long it takes to get people ramped up. You have a couple options here, and I'm going to share with you what it looks like. Second is communication. This is pretty straightforward. Typically, how do you communicate between you and the agency? And then what are the issues that come with doing that communication so that they can get your offer or what you do right? And lots of times there's a huge gap here. Third is knowledge. This is between you and the agency and you. And then fourth is focus. This is going to be one of the major reasons why I think the agency model is going to be broken here in the future. And the fifth bonus one is how do we leverage AI through time to remove these risks. And I'm going to be talking about how we're doing it, and hopefully it'll be useful to you. So first, let's jump into time. So time is important. Why? Well, it's the thing that we can't get back. It's a non-renewable resource. Now, one of the things with time is with most agencies, you have an onboarding period, right? So it's pretty clear. We have an onboarding period, and we have continued to decrease it through time. But there's an issue here. There are really two types of agencies in the healthcare space. Now, if you're working, the space that we typically work in is in the chronic illness, holistic and natural solutions. Like a lot of our clients, they use technology to accelerate the healing process of the body. We're not really so much into the allopathic sick care model. So if that is you, this video is, you can take from it, you can watch it if you liked it, but we're likely not going to be right for you, or this may not apply exactly to you as well. So the onboarding process. Now, this can be anywhere between sometimes 7 days or less, all the way up to, I've seen 60 days. Now, here's why. Now, you have really two options and in the agency space, and it's one, you have the mill style. I'll explain what that means. And then you have custom, or you could call this boutique style. Okay. Now, it is a continuum here between these two things. It's not necessarily always one or the other. It's more of like how much of what are you more of a mill style agency or the agency you're looking at, or is it custom? Here's how you know. With the mill style, everything is the same. Okay, everything is the same. Everything is a template. Low customization, and as well as typically you don't get to choose. Don't choose anything, right? You say, hey, I have this, I want to run an offer for neuropathy, I want to run an offer for thyroid or gut health or chiropractic or et cetera, right? And then they say, cool, I'll get you up and running, give us your logo, give us a picture of you, and let's get off to the races. This is a mill style, and what you're getting here, the upside is this is fast. So this is a fast, super fast Downside, and there's many other things. It's fast. They obviously typically say it's quote unquote proven, and that's great. Downside is it's commoditized, right? So that's one of the downsides to it. And number two, it creates competition, and typically is not aligned exactly. One of the things we'll notice is that I've seen this time and time again with the clients that we get. Hey, I don't really want to sell this because that's not aligned with my brand. This isn't what I want to do, but you're telling me this is what I need to do to get new patients in the door. I don't necessarily like that. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this where I'm not willing to discount my brand and incentivize by giving discounts to get people in. Now, can you do it? Absolutely. Do we have clients that do it internally? Yes. Which is one of the main reasons why we want to move away from the agency space. We're aggressively and violently moving away from that into software, and I'm really excited about it for multiple reasons, which I'm going to lay out in this video. So not only is it commoditized, there's a lot of competition you create. So for example, you might see another practitioner in your town running the same offer to the same type of landing page, and this causes why would a patient choose you over that other person? And the more and more this happens, you create a downward or a negative flywheel. It means every new person that comes into the market, the market gets split, and what ends up happening is that there's more choice, and now it's going to come down to what really makes you different. Really, when it comes to marketing, differentiation is much better than saying you're better, because different is easy to prove, better is not, and it's also very subjective. So another downside to this, in my opinion, is that because you're not aligned, there's competition, and because there's commoditized, you have thinner margins. Thinner margins, and you have to discount your brand. I definitely don't like that, which I just said. So these 5 pieces are one of the reasons why I don't like the mill style. But once again, it's fast and quote unquote proven. Now, when you have the boutique or custom, right? So this right here is you have different, which is easy. So it's one of the major pieces. It's one because of that, it's one of one typically. This has one of the bigger styles is now it matches your business model. And then you have more control, right? Which you can also argue that it's one of the upsides. One of the upsides of this is it's aligned. So typically this is antithesis of down here. Aligned, not commoditized. Okay, not commoditized. Part of this is this allows for innovation. No discounts, or don't have to discount the brand per se. Now, the downside is it's slow. Downside is you're paying innovation tax. And what do I mean by innovation tax? Well, one of the big problems with custom stuff is you don't know if it's going to work or not. That's part of the innovation tax. You're going to have to pay that down. And so it requires more skill to figure out, can we get this right out the gate? You don't know if your offer's proven. You don't know if the market's going to accept it. You don't know if the market even has a need for it. They might say, I have this problem, but the way that you go about solving it, they may not like. And it's one of the downsides for that. And one of the other downsides of this as well is it requires more skill from the agency to help guide you unless you already have it. And one of the problems with innovating and inventing new ways of acquisition is when you have nothing proven and you've paid a large sum of money to get someone to get a result, and the patience that comes with trying to separate yourself from everyone else, you have to have the patience to be able to see this through, because likely the thing that you put to market first is not going to work. One of the things I want to make sure it's really clear is if you look at the first offer, the minimal viable offer, which you might have heard this, or minimal viable product, you might have heard this term before. It's definitely in software. They talk about basically launching something quickly and getting a lot of feedback. You don't want to spend too much time here, because if you do, you're going to end up waiting and trying to make something perfect. And then what ends up happening is the thing you launch doesn't work. And you're like, holy crap, I just wasted 6 months, 9 months trying to make this thing. And when I launched it out, it is a dud, versus testing it really quickly, getting out to market and figuring out, okay, this is what they like, this is what they don't. And cutting the things that they don't, adding things that they do, and making adjustments to it. And so because of this, the custom route becomes challenging because you do need to have a harmony between these 2 points. So etho, for the most part, has been on the, if you imagine this is the midline here, that's the midline. We've been very much on this side of the continuum. And once again, that's caused problems, caused issues. It's caused a lag or latency in getting launched, which is something I don't like. But people love the custom style stuff. But once again, it comes with the upsides and the downsides. Now, because of this time, right, now you have, if you imagine a x-axis and a y-axis, the results for the mill style, which I'll indicate with, let's go blue. So this is the mill style, and let's go custom here. Okay. What you'll typically see here is that you'll get off to the races. Let's say this is month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, and month 6. Okay. So typically what happens is it looks like this. That's your results. It kind of starts off, it goes up, it's great, it burns out. The opposite with custom looks more like this. And your curve typically is a lot longer. So it'll go past the 6-month mark if done properly. We have clients, as an example, that it took us a while to get started, but once we cracked the code, we haven't changed their entire acquisition system, their ads, their models, really for a better part of a year and a half, 2 years. I've seen this. We have clients that have had the same ads running for over a year, year and a half, because you have to crack the code of the custom acquisition, which is why it takes so much setup, because the front end work that needs to be done. So that's one of the downsides to custom, but it's also one of the upsides. Once you get it right, it can last for a very, very long time. But that is part of the custom. With a mill, and it may be 3 months, it may be 4 months that it lasts, but what ends up happening is because it's a mill style, if someone brings in another competitor, and let's say they onboard another competitor in your marketplace, now you have that downside, because now that new competition comes in, it splits the market, and now you're bidding and competing with someone in the market. And now if you have 3, 4, 5, 6 competitors, depending on the market size, you can see this becoming a big issue here. So that's time for you. This is one of the biggest challenges, is how long are you willing to wait to see results? If you want fast results, go with the mill style. But once again, you invite all of these downsides with it. If you want the custom, you have to invite these downsides, which are time, innovation tax, and it's a lot slower. Okay, so that's time. Next, communication. Communication is key here. One of the big pieces with this, I have a model that I call thought dilution. So I want you to think about it this way. Imagine you and I are in a conversation. I've never seen the Mona Lisa before. And you have to try to transfer, here's what I'm asking. What does the Mona Lisa look like? And I've never seen it before. Never seen a picture of it, anything. And you and I are having a conversation, and you have to think, okay, you have to pull the Mona Lisa image in your brain, and you have to go, okay, great. How do I take that image that it's perfectly clear in my mind? You have to compress it down to words, right? So you have image, right? Let's imagine that's a really poorly drawn. Sorry about that. So you have the Mona Lisa, right? And then you have to say, okay, great. I'm going to turn it into words, okay? Then you have to pass those words on to me, right? So you've taken it, you've compressed it down to words, and now you have to pass it on to me. So now I'm going to observe my world. So this is my worldview. So these are words or language. This is my worldview. Worldview. What do I mean by that? What do those words mean to me? What experiences I've been through? When you talk about, let's say it's a woman of fair skin, dark hair, I have maybe a different image of what she looks like versus the way you think. And so that's going to be some differences there. So all the other filters that I have to receive that through is going to determine the way I understand what you said. Then I have to take that image, which looks much smaller, it's compressed, and I got to blow this thing up. And what ends up happening, let me move this out the way. What ends up happening is that because I have to blow this thing up to full image, it might show up and you might say she has this specific look, and then she's going to look way different than what you said she looked like. Here's an example of this. You remember the telephone game back in middle school or or elementary school, where the teacher would say, okay, here's this sentence. I need you to share this sentence. And it goes from one person to the next person to the next person and so on and so forth till it got to the end of the line. And then we try to compare these two sentences. And by the time it gets off to the end, the information is completely wrong. It's like way off. Well, it's because this thought dilution from point A to point B causes a tremendous amount of texture loss. Now, how does this pertain to your agency? Well, if you say, hey, my thing, here's my solution, here's what it does. It does thing 1, thing 2, thing 3, thing 4. Sweet. Okay, it does these things. And I'm looking for a type of person. I want you to tell the person here, this is my avatar. Okay, and then here's what makes us different. So I have, okay, cool. Out of the things that you see in the market, this is 5 and 6. These are the things that make me different. Sweet. Depending on the type of agency you are, and depending on or the type of agency you work with, and then the type of person you are, and where you fall in that scale up above, they may not get this right because you're trying to transfer the messaging on what makes you different to them, and they may not understand it, especially if they never worked in healthcare or have intimate relationships from a friend, or they're working with someone, or their spouse is someone, or some of their best friends are in that space. They may not understand what you do at a high level, and because of this, they build advertising copy, advertising like the actual creative, and the funnels and the automations and all the different processes are not aligned to what you do specifically, and because of this, you have low throughput. Now, have we made this mistake? Absolutely. Every time my company has tried to move in this direction, we have this dilution of thought. Every time we try to create less and less custom stuff, we have this issue where now you don't get as much throughput. You don't get as many results because the thing that you built is built off someone else's stuff. This causes a dilemma. If you go for speed, you get this issue. If you go for a custom, you get the other issue. So you have to almost do pros and cons here. And so having an aligned message, having an aligned advertising campaign, the downside of working with the agency is that they're going to get this wrong 95% of the time. And the time that it takes them to tweak it, lots of practitioners do not have the patience or the wallet to stomach the fees. And if your agency does not know how to do a deep analysis and onboarding of what you do, if they're not asking, I'll give you an example, 60, 70 questions, you're going to have not going to have a good time. Let me give you an example here. See if this will allow me to open it. Here, let's go. Let me show you here what I'm talking about. See if this will allow me to load it up. Okay. Let me show you ours. So in our business, we have literally a tremendous brand download. I mean, this is a lot of questions here. We ask all these questions, and these are color code. We're working on something right now. But I wanted to show you here, this is the type of onboarding. Some of this stuff we don't really actually need anymore because we have it all compliance. We already have this kind of modeled out. But these are the questions that we ask the practitioner when they onboard, and we have an AI custom GPT to build, and we're building an assistant for it, but to help fill this out, because we understand that the more rich information we have, the better custom solution we can create. And so this is one of the upsides and downsides to the messaging and communication. We need that rich information, the stuff that you know that's in your head, the stuff that you're doing on the front lines, because the agency is not, to really get clear on how do we solve this problem? How do we get a marketing message out there that is really, really potent? And we can't do that without a deep download of the practitioner. And lots of times when you go on the mill style, you're not going to get that. They're going to be like, cool, we're just going to throw this up. Here's the offer price. Here's what you're going to sell, convert, right? Okay, next, we have knowledge. This is the knowledge risk. Okay, so the way you want to think about the knowledge risk here is there is a gap here. Let's say we go from, let's do it this way. Let's draw this. Beautiful. And let's draw this. Beautiful. Actually, I'll change the color here. Okay. Now, let's go here, level of knowledge. Let's go complexity. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. It's pretty the relationship is very, very, linear here. One of the challenges is that this gap here, you may be a level, I don't know, let's say you're here. And that's the level of complexity that you're willing. Let's say this is I don't know. Let's say all to level 2, and then you want over here is a level 10. Well, the level of complexity that you're willing to stomach is a level 2. That might be just like, I don't know, setting up your ad account or filling out a document or a form to give let the agency know what you do. Okay, and that level of complexity is going to get you to a certain level. Well, the agency might be a level 5 right here. Let's say this is level 5. And because this gap exists here between these 2 points, that it's called arbitrage. That's the term. Because they have that gap difference, they're able to charge you money. They're able to say, cool, we're going to charge you X dollars for this gap, and that's what you're paying for because we have a deeper understanding. Now, what if they only have a level 3? What if it's just right here versus a level 5? Well, there's going to be a huge difference in results when all you would need to do is cross this gap, and now you're at the same level of understanding as them. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this where the practitioner comes in and they say, well, my agency told me to do this, and then they explain it to me, and I'm like, whoa, there's a huge hole here that they're missing information. For example, if you're doing a Facebook lead form on Meta, and you just run your campaign through that, well, what they don't realize is if you go down to first principles and you think about what are the major things that the platform wants, is they want user experience first. This is why you're actually paying for that platform, why you're even spending money there. Number 2, they want to make money. Okay. Number 3 is you make money. Okay, so this is called advertiser success. They care about that third. So if that is the rank order, they care about people being on the platform, they want to make money off people off making the platform, and then they care about you making money. You're third on this list. When Facebook installed the Facebook lead form, why they did that is because they allowed for a frictionless opportunity for a patient or a lead to go through and basically one click opt in. Now think about it from this standpoint. If you want highly intentional leads, you want them to have more friction. There's a harmony between too much friction and too little friction, of course. But think about it from this standpoint. They're able to click one button and they say, yep, I'm opting in. Think about the function of how people come into that funnel. It's very little friction. And when you have very little friction, you have low intention. And so when you think about it from that standpoint, and this is the thing they're doing. Oh, this is what they told me to do. I got hundreds of leads and none of them converted. Well, this is why. Because in first principles thinking, if you go down, what do we want them to do? We want them to go off platform to a location that we control, that we get that data, and we can really ensure that quality is much higher because we are building a experience with them that forces them through friction to make sure that the people that come out the other side are much better than someone who's just mindlessly scrolling, using the toilet, or waiting in line and saying, yeah, I want to take a look at that. They're not very interested. They're not really intentional. And so because of this gap, this prevents practitioners from moving forward because that's one example of many. Well, I don't know how to install ads. I don't know how to write copy. So, one of the big pieces here is you got copy, you got funnel building, you got funnels, you got tech, you got creative, like what do you put in the ad? Is it an image? Is it a video? Where do you do it? You got tracking. You got, retargeting, so remarketing. So if they come in and then don't actually convert, you have the overall strategy of how is it structured? What do I do? What is the model that I use? Do I use a call model? Do I have a team that can call out? Do I have them book discovery calls? Do we charge them free? Is it not free? What is the price point? What is the right? So all these components, you have to get these all right for this process to work. And because the agency wants to keep you in the dark And here's proof of this. Um, if you understand how to do these things, or you have a piece of software that does this for you, what is the utility of the agency? What I can tell you from owning one and being more on the custom side versus the mill side, the mill side, really, once they get you set up, they press buttons. That's what they do. They press buttons. Media buying, which is a term meaning to ad manage or manage your ads, is literally you go on the account for 2 minutes a day and you look, okay, how much money was spent? Did we get results? Yes, no. If we did, great. I'll spend more money. If we don't, or not touch it, or we just shut off an ad. That's it. That's as simple as it needs to be. Now, you may be wondering, okay, what are the nuances ads? I will make more videos on specifically on how to write ads and build ads and the structure of how you install it. And it can get very complex. It can. You can keep it simple, of course, but when you talk about these platforms, especially when you're dealing with never been able to bring it to market and to make it work, lots of times you have to test a lot of stuff. Well, what does a lot of testing mean? What we have found is time and time again, the practitioners we work with, they might have tested 1 angle, 2 angles, 3 angles, when really you might need 20, you might need 30. Well, that's hard. You have to install all that on the platform. You have to know which ones to choose in the beginning. On your first test, you have to be willing to risk money. There's a lot of things that come with that. But because there's a gap here in knowing how to do that, either practitioners choose not to, or they, once again, push this off, and this is how they get burned. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with clients that have worked with 12, 13, 15, 17 agencies, and then or consultants, and they come to us and go, okay, well, why is it that that is? And I'll explain some of these things. So I'm giving you one piece, but you got to nail all of this to get it right. And once you get this all right, then it's going to start working for you. And there's a lot of pieces. So, and the best part is with AI software, with AI and with software, both combined, you're able to reduce the need for agency. And then once again, I'll have more videos on media buying, specifically ads, copywriting, all these pieces. I'm going to be sharing. I'm going to be giving away a lot of this material, stuff that was behind a paywall for our consulting firm. You're going to be able to have access to, mainly just because I want you to win and incentivize you to potentially work with us in the future with our software. Okay, next and last, we're going to talk about, actually, what the hell did I say it was? See, I don't even remember. Focus. Yeah, focus. Now, this is pretty straightforward. This is going to be pretty clear. I don't have to spend too much time here. Okay. So I'll illustrate it this way. So my previous agency was called Fyve, and we had grown to a stage. This was back in 2016 to about 2019. We had grown to a stage where we were managing about 150 clients at one time. Now, I grew a staff, had a fancy office, had all the staff, 25 staff members, and I honestly didn't really know what the hell I was doing as a founder. Wasn't really good at managing, didn't know really how many people I needed. The roles weren't as defined and clear as possible. I didn't have a lot of training as far as like for them. And so I had this bloated staff. And from an internal standpoint, I want you to think about it this way. If you don't have everyone rowing the boats in the same direction, it becomes very difficult to get the boat to move forward, to move the needle forward, to get the boat down the river, so to speak, or down the path. And this also pertains to the agency space. And here's why. So if I have 150 clients and you are paying for, let's say you really want to work with me specifically because I'm the founder, and this is typically a lot of our clients want that. Well, the downside of that is I might not have the time to do that and the focus to be able to do that. 150 clients, that's a lot. So I have to decentralize the knowledge. Now, if I haven't done a good job at that, for example, then we're going to run into a lot of issues. One of the major issues we've ran into with Etho is that the decentralizing highly specialized knowledge is getting difficult. So I came up with a solution by taking my brain and moving it into AI. So all the deep domain knowledge I have, moving it into an AI, not a GPT, not a custom GPT, but an actual AI agent, an AI assistant that requires you to do it a very specific way. It's really techy, and I'm not going to get into the nuance, into all the specifics there. But if I got one client, this is pretty easy to understand. If I got one client versus 150, well, this one client's going to get 100% of my focus, right? This is just a math equation. If I got 150 clients, that's what? 0.06, right? Is that, I can do the math here. But we'll call it 0.6, right? 0.6% of my attention, as an example, it's going to be really difficult for me to provide a really exceptional experience with that kind of split focus. And so this focus intent, right? If I have here and I'm splitting all my focus here and I got 100 units of focus, you can imagine this becoming an issue versus having one here and I'm just going deep on this thing. Now, one of the things that we've noticed is that when we have this split focus, the client results goes down. And I don't like this. And it's one of the major reasons why we're making the swap to software. And it's annoying as hell because I really give a crap about a lot of our clients. We've had clients churn out because of this singular issue. We've had clients that I've had to potentially have had to save them by saying, hey, listen, I know that we haven't delivered on much of the focus that you need or the attention that you need. Because at the end of the day, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, lots of times if you're pissed off, you're upset, it's because you don't feel heard, you don't feel seen, you don't feel like people care and all these things. And this is not true. What we have found is that there's a certain limit that my agency can hit, which causes a bottleneck and basically a true can't fulfill. When you go custom, there's a certain amount of clients you can handle. And the bandwidth that comes with that, that's not an excuse. It's just what it is. Scaling labor is hard. It's doable. But the specialized knowledge is also, I would even say, even harder to scale up. And what I have found is that could I provide a solution that centralizes all the skill into one location and that the practitioner who may have a different problem set, similar, but it's the same pattern, but a very specialized thing, could they use a piece of technology that solves that problem? And the answer I have found is yes, which I'm excited to share with you. So AI and healthcare. How can you use this? I think there's a lot of opportunity here. One of the big pieces is that you might have heard of OpenAI. You might have heard of ChatGPT, Claude. There's DeepSeek. Some of the more, those are typically the three. And there's also Gemini, which is from Google. There are a couple models out there that are really well known. Now, knowing what to use, how to use them, all these different things. There's many things that the AI can do, and you're going to see a split in the future. And I think every industry is going to have. It's going to look like this. Every industry is going to have these trees, these little split offs, where it looks like this. And each of these nodes, each of these points here, are going to be points of you're either going to accept or reject AI. And I think the adaptation that the practitioners in this space, they will have to make a choice. Are they going to not integrate with AI and leverage AI where it's possible, or are they going to choose to integrate with it and allow their business to adapt? And so what we have found is that with AI, there are 5 major components, or really 6 in our industry that we're going to solve. The first is going to be thinking. So this is going to be like the research. If I can spell today, probably can't. That's okay. Research. Avatar. I can't spell today. That's funny. Avatar. And offer development. Okay. Then from there, we're going to have copywriting. So this is going to be, I'll actually put this down. Copywriting. If you're not using OpenAI or Claude to help you with your copywriting, you're definitely missing the boat here, because this can help speed up that process. Because one of the big things is knowing how to prompt it is key, because lots of times people feel, oh man, this kind of feels robotic. It doesn't sound like me. There's a way to do it. There's ways to make your AI sound like you. And choosing a platform and running with it and building deep knowledge into it is really what will help take it from sounding like a robot to sounding like you. There's ways to do that. One of the ways we do is if you have content already, transcriptions. These are my 2 favorite ways to do it. And then, of course, you have to do prompt engineering. That's another component to making this beautiful. And then from here is, how do you build funnels? build funnels. This a funnel is basically taking someone from point A to point B through a very systematic process to want to work with your company. That's really what a funnel is. It's a set of landing pages or a set of web pages that do it in a very specific order. It's pretty much what a funnel is. I'll jump more into this deeply in another video. And then I think where there's a lot of opportunity, and this is one of the big things that we want to build, is AI media buying or ad management. Media buyer. So like think ad management. There's an opportunity there that we are going to fill with our solution that's going to allow you to not need any sort of media buyer, not going to have to hire an agency. You're not going to need to pay someone to run your ads. When you have an AI that does it every single second of every single moment, and it's checking the bids and how much you're spending, and is this working, this not working, do I need to raise, do I need to drop it, do I need to cut it, do we need to iterate and make new ads? It's going to be able to do that for you. Next is creating content. So if you don't like being on camera, there's a lot of practitioners we work with that either shouldn't be on camera or don't like being on camera, and there's some that are really good. But this is a big lever in the sense of, are you okay with being on camera? And if you don't have the desire to be on camera, how do we solve this problem when patients need to connect with you? Well, how do we create that content? We're actually solving this with a few tools, of course, from a video perspective and an image perspective, so that you can speed up the time to value and make this, under 30 minutes, and you have some really good stuff. And then lastly is going to be measuring it all. So how do you know constraints, which I will absolutely do a video on that. Constraints. What about metrics, right? This is one of the big pieces here is times. This is what we have found some of our higher level clients. They want to remove as much time to solving the problem as possible in plain English. Great, look at all my numbers, but how do the numbers play into the constraints and so on and so forth? How do these interplay? I'm telling you right now, lots of times you'll see, okay, here's all these numbers and clicks and views on the landing page and conversions and da-da-da. What do I do with this information? I don't know what to do. Well, one of the solutions we're providing is to be able to give you a plain English, here's your problem, do this. That way, you don't need an agency to tell you, because the agency will need to understand soup to nuts from the point of what is the price that you're offering, how much profit you make, and what should you actually be able to buy a patient from these online platforms for, and what is a good KPI, what's a good key performance indicator that you're on target, all the way to the very first thing, which is a click. How much can you pay per click for, and then all the sequence that falls in the middle, right? From click all the way to them starting, and there's about 55 different touch points or metrics that you can measure. And when you have that and you know exactly what to do with it, boom, you can take action and solve the right problem, because the right solution for the wrong problem is still the wrong solution. That's huge here. And then what to do with the metrics. What metrics matter? What do they mean? All these things. And so there is an opportunity here, from thinking to writing to building to creating to launching stuff and managing it, and as well as to measuring, that allows you to really take the growth infrastructure of your business and turn it into an AI, have AI employees essentially for your business. And this is exactly what we're building right now. We are actually going to be doing that with a beta program. Once again, I'll put the link in the description. If you're interested at all at it, fill out, go there, click the link, go there, look at the dossier. If it makes sense, cool, get on the call. If not, no worries. The big thing here is that we want to create a software that's going to turn your acquisition, essentially, give you control of it, leverage AI, and basically build AI employees into your business that have very specific functions that do all the things that an agency would and then some. And to make it as easy as possible for you to click, say, okay, cool, I can take a low-level person, or I can, as a practitioner with 5 minutes a day, know exactly what to do, because the AI thinks for me. It helps me build, helps me write stuff, helps me create stuff, it measures it and runs it for me, so I can focus on practicing medicine and getting amazing at that craft instead of becoming a marketer. So anyway, hope this video has been helpful. Once again, these are the risks as you come back. These are the risk, time risk. Hey, you don't get to look at, what do you want to go with, a mill style or custom? Communication risk, transferring the knowledge and skill that you have as a practitioner and what you do and what makes you different to the agency. That's a risk. Third is a knowledge risk, knowing that there's a gap between where you're at and where they are, and that gap allows them to charge you sometimes thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars a month. And then focus. They're going to be split and their time and attention and effort because they have so many clients, which is once again one of the downsides of the agency model. And then lastly, there's AI opportunity that you're ripe, and I can't. It's ripe for disruption. I can't wait to share with you on this page some of these new ideas that I have and some of the things that we're actually doing for our clients as we transition from an agency to an AI software brand. So anyway, my name is John Cameron. Can't wait to see you in the next video. Take care.